The morning light filtered through the massive, transparent dome of the Galactic Academy as students from 100 different worlds shuffled into Classroom 7. Maya Torres adjusted her backpack and took her usual seat near the window, where she could watch the twin moons of Sanctuary Prime drift across the purple sky. She had been at the Academy for 3 weeks now, and most days still felt like a strange dream. Professor Venn glided into the room on 6 graceful legs, their fur shimmering with the soft blue color that meant contentment in their species. The professor was a Velen, an herbivore race known throughout the galaxy for their peaceful nature and love of teaching. "Good morning, young scholars," Professor Venn said, their voice like wind chimes. "Today we continue our cultural exchange presentations. Now each of you will share something unique from your home world." Maya watched as her classmates settled in. There was Zix, an insectoid student whose compound eyes reflected rainbow patterns when excited. Beside Zix sat Krell, an amphibious being who kept their skin moist with a special spray every few minutes. There were 15 students in total, representing 12 different species. Maya was one of only 3 humans at the entire academy. The other human in this particular class was Danny Cooper, a friendly boy from the North American sector of Earth. Danny sat 2 rows ahead, and Maya had noticed he seemed nervous all morning. He kept fidgeting with a large bag he had brought with him. "Who would like to present first?" Professor Venn asked. Zix raised one of their 4 arms. "I will share the meditation crystals from my home world. They help focus the mind and bring peace." The presentation went smoothly. Zix passed around beautiful purple crystals that hummed softly when touched. The other students were fascinated and calm. Next, Krell demonstrated a water dancing technique from their ocean planet. They created small floating spheres of water that moved in graceful patterns. Everyone applauded with their various appendages, claws, and hands. "Wonderful, wonderful," Professor Venn said, their fur turning a deeper blue with pleasure. "Who is next?" Danny slowly raised his hand. "I brought something from Earth, from my culture's food preparation traditions." Maya noticed Professor Venn's fur ripple slightly. The whole galaxy knew about Earth. They called it a Deathworld, a planet so dangerous that only the hardiest species could survive there. Humans had a reputation, though Maya thought it was mostly unfair. Yes, Earth had predators and diseases and natural disasters. Yes, humans were stronger and faster than most species in the galaxy, but that did not make them monsters. "Please proceed carefully," Professor Venn said, their voice tighter than before. Danny walked to the front of the class carrying his bag. "On Earth, food is very important to human culture. We don't just eat for nutrition. We gather together, we cook, we share meals with family and friends. It's how we show love and build community." He reached into his bag and pulled out a cutting board, placing it on the professor's desk. Then he took out several vegetables, earth carrots and potatoes and onions. The alien students leaned forward with curiosity. The vegetables looked strange to them, rough and dirty compared to the smooth nutrition cubes most species consumed. "These are vegetables from Earth," Danny explained. "Before we can eat them, we have to prepare them. We remove the outer skin and cut them into pieces. Then we cook them with heat, which makes them soft and brings out flavors." Maya watched as Danny reached into his bag one more time. She saw what he was pulling out, and her stomach dropped. "No," she thought. "Danny, don't." But it was too late. Danny pulled out a kitchen knife. It was just a normal chef's knife, the kind found in millions of human kitchens. The blade was about 8 inches long, made of steel, with a black plastic handle. To Danny, it was simply a cooking tool. He had probably used one just like it 1,000 times at home. To everyone else in the classroom, it was a weapon. Yet the reaction was immediate and explosive. Zix let out a high-pitched shriek and dove under their desk, all 4 arms wrapped around their head. Krell's skin flashed bright red, the color of extreme danger in their species, and they pressed themselves flat against the floor. A student from the Finn delegation made a sound like breaking glass and scrambled toward the door. Professor Venn's fur went completely white, every strand standing on end. Their 6 legs locked in place and their eyes went wide. "Weapon," they whispered. "Weapon in the classroom." Danny froze, the knife still in his hand, confusion written all over his face. He looked around at the chaos he had somehow created. "What?" No, this is just for cooking. I was going to show you how we prepare vegetables. But no one was listening. Half the class was hiding under desks, and the other half was backing toward the walls as far from Danny as possible. One student had their hand on the emergency alert panel beside the door. Maya's mind raced. In seconds, Academy security would burst through that door. They would see a human holding a blade in a room full of terrified students. Danny would be expelled at minimum. He might even be arrested, sent back to Earth in disgrace, all because of a simple misunderstanding. She had to act fast. Maya stood up from her desk. Her movement caught everyone's attention because she was moving toward Danny, not away from him. She was walking toward the danger instead of running from it. "Everyone, please stay calm," Maya said, keeping her voice steady and low. She had learned in her first week that sudden loud noises frightened most species. Humans were loud by nature, and she had to be careful. "Maya, get back," Professor Venn said, their voice shaking. "That human has a blade." "I know," Maya said, "and I'm going to explain exactly what's happening here. Please just give me 1 minute." She took another step toward Danny, who looked absolutely terrified now. He finally understood that something had gone very wrong, even if he didn't understand why. Maya met his eyes and spoke quietly. "Danny, I need you to very slowly and very carefully put the knife down on the desk. Don't make any quick movements. Just set it down gently." Danny's hand trembled as he looked at Maya, then down at the knife he was holding. Sweat formed on his forehead. He had only wanted to share something from home, something that made him happy. Now everyone was treating him like a criminal. "Okay," Danny whispered. "Okay." "I'm putting it down." He moved in slow motion, bending at the waist and placing the knife on the cutting board. The metal made a small click against the wood. Even that tiny sound made Zix whimper from under the desk. Maya waited until Danny stepped back from the desk, his hands raised and empty. Then she walked forward and stood between Danny and the rest of the class. She positioned herself so everyone could see her clearly. "Please, everyone, listen to me," Maya said. "What you just saw was not a weapon being drawn. It was a tool being presented. There is a very big difference." "That is a blade," Professor Venn said, their fur still stark white. "Blades are for cutting, for harming, for killing." "On your world, maybe," Maya said gently. "But on Earth, blades are tools we use every single day. We use them to prepare food, to build things, to create art. Yes, they can be dangerous, but so can many things if used incorrectly." She turned slightly to look at Krell, who was still pressed flat on the floor. "Krell, you showed us water dancing earlier. It was beautiful. But water can also drown someone, can't it? Does that make water a weapon?" Krell's skin shifted from bright red to a confused orange color. They lifted their heads slightly. "Water is just water. It depends on how you use it." "Exactly," Maya said. "The same is true for knives on Earth. They are just tools. It depends on how you use them." Zix slowly emerged from under the desk, though they stayed crouched and ready to hide again. "But why would you need such a thing? Why not use nutrition paste like normal beings? It is safe. It is simple. No blades required." Maya took a breath. And this was the hard part, explaining Earth to people who came from safe, gentle worlds. She had struggled with this herself during her first days at the Academy. "Let me tell you about Earth," Maya said. "My homeworld is different from most of yours. It's what you call a death world, and that name is actually fair. Earth is dangerous in ways that are hard to imagine if you haven't been there." She began to pace slowly, her movements calm and measured. "On Earth, we have weather that can kill. Storms with winds strong enough to destroy buildings. Lightning that strikes from the sky. Heat that can cook you, and cold that can freeze you. We have earthquakes that split the ground open, and waves as tall as mountains." Several students made sounds of distress. Their own worlds were climate-controlled, peaceful, predictable. "And we also have thousands of species of plants and animal," Maya continued. "Many of them are poisonous. Many of them are predators. Humans are not the strongest or fastest or most dangerous species on our own planet. We survive because we learn to be smart. We learn to adapt. We learn to use tools." She walked over to the desk and picked up one of the carrots Danny had brought. "This vegetable grew in the ground. It has a tough outer skin that protects it. Humans cannot eat it like this. Our teeth are not strong enough. Our stomach ways cannot digest it raw. so we have to process it first. Maya held up the carrot for everyone to see. We remove the skin. We cut it into pieces. We apply heat to break down the tough fibers. This is not violence, this is survival. And this is how humans have fed themselves for thousands of years. Professor Ven's fur was starting to return to its normal color, though concern still showed in their eyes. But why bring such a tool here? To this classroom? You must have known it would frighten us. He didn't know, Maya said, looking back at Danny. Danny grew up using knives every day. In his mind, they are as normal and harmless as your meditation crystals, Zix. He has probably used a knife like this since he was a small child, always with adult supervision at first, learning the proper way to handle it safely. She set the carrot down and turned to face the class fully. I want to tell you about my first week here at the academy. I made so many mistakes. Do you know what I did on my second day? No one answered. They were all listening now, a fear slowly being replaced by curiosity. I smiled at a Velen student in the cafeteria, Maya said. I was trying to be friendly, but when humans smile, we show our teeth. The students saw my teeth and thought I was threatening to bite them. They reported me to security. I almost got expelled before I understood what I had done wrong. Professor Ven's ears drooped with embarrassment. I remember hearing about that incident. I thought the human student was being aggressive. I was being friendly, Maya said. But my friendly looks like aggression to you, just like Danny's cooking tool looks like a weapon to you. We are all seeing the same things, but understanding them differently based on our own experiences. She looked around the room, making eye contact with as many students as she could. I learned something important that day. Fear comes from not understanding. Once we understand each other, the fear goes away. So please let me help you understand what Danny was trying to share with you. Krell slowly stood up, their skin now a cautious yellow. You promise this blade is not for hurting? I promise, Maya said. On Earth, we call this type of knife a chef's knife. A chef is someone who cooks food professionally. They use this tool to create meals that bring joy to people. It is an instrument of care, not harm. Zix took a few tentative steps forward. And you use this every day? In your homes? Every single day, Danny spoke up for the first time since the panic started. His voice was quiet but steady. My mother uses one. My father uses one. I have been learning to cook since I was 7 years old. A knife like this has prepared probably thousands of meals for my family. Maya could see the shift happening in the room. The fear was still there, but curiosity was growing stronger. She needed to build on this moment before anyone's panic returned. Danny, do you still want to show everyone how humans prepare food? Maya asked. I think if we explain each step carefully, the class might learn something valuable. Danny nodded, though his hands still shook slightly. Yes, I'd like that, if everyone is willing. Professor Ven's fur rippled with uncertainty. I am not sure this is wise. Academy regulations state that potentially dangerous items must be approved before being brought to class. That's fair, Maya said. Danny should have asked permission first, but we're here now, and this could be a real learning opportunity. Isn't that what the cultural exchange program is about? Understanding each other's worlds? The professor was quiet for a long moment. Finally, their fur settled into a cautious green color. Very well, but I will be watching very carefully. And Maya, you will assist and explain everything. One wrong move and this demonstration ends immediately. Understood, Maya said. She turned to Danny. Let's start from the beginning. Show them everything, step by step. Danny took a deep breath and picked up his bag again. This time, when he reached inside, he moved slowly and announced what he was taking out. This is a vegetable peeler. We use it to remove the outer skin from vegetables. He held up a small metal tool with a blade much smaller than the knife. Several students flinched, but Maya spoke quickly. See how small it is? The blade is barely bigger than my fingernail. It's designed to remove only the thin outer layer of the vegetable. Nothing more. It would be very difficult to hurt someone with this, even if you tried. Danny demonstrated on a carrot, running the peeler down its length. Thin orange strips of skin curled away, revealing the brighter orange flesh underneath. The skin can be bitter and tough. Removing it makes the carrot taste better and easier to chew. Zix crept closer, fascinated despite their fear. Your food requires so much work. Why not simply synthesize nutrition? We have that technology on Earth too, Maya explained, but humans are social creatures. We bond through shared experiences, and sharing meals is one of our oldest traditions. When Danny's mother cooks for his family, she's not just providing nutrition. She's showing love. Danny smiled for the first time since the panic started. My mom makes the best stir fry. That's what I was going to make for you all today. It was her recipe. He pulled out more items from his bag. A grater, which made some students nervous until he showed them it was for shredding vegetables into tiny pieces. A cutting board, which was just wood and posed no threat. A bowl for mixing. Now I'm going to use the chef's knife, Danny announced clearly. Please watch closely. Maya, can you explain what I'm doing? Maya stood beside the desk where everyone could see her. Danny is going to cut the carrot into pieces. Watch his hands. See how he curls his fingers inward? That's a safety technique humans learn. It protects his fingers from the blade. Danny placed the peeled carrot on the cutting board. His other hand formed a claw shape, fingertips holding the carrot steady while his knuckles faced outward. The knife came down in a smooth, controlled motion. A perfect circular slice fell away from the carrot. Did you see that? Maya asked. The movement was calm and precise. He has complete control. This is a skill that takes practice. Humans spend years learning to do this properly. Danny continued cutting, each slice even in uniform. The rhythmic sound of the knife against the board became almost soothing. Krell moved closer, their skin shifting to an interested blue-green. How do you know where to cut? Krell asked. Practice, Danny said, and thinking about what you want the final dish to look like. These round slices will cook evenly and look nice in the stir-fry. He moved on to an onion, explaining how different vegetables require different cutting techniques. When he sliced into the onion, his eyes began to water. Are you hurt? Professor Venn asked with alarm. Maya laughed softly. No, onions release a chemical into the air when cut. It irritates human eyes and makes us cry. It's annoying but harmless. The chemical breaks down when we cook the onion, and it becomes sweet instead of sharp. Your food attacks you while you prepare it? Zix sounded horrified. Earth is a death world, Maya reminded them gently. Even our vegetables have defense mechanisms, but humans figured out how to work with them, not against them. The tears are worth it because onions add so much flavor to our meals. Danny finished cutting all the vegetables. He had neat piles of carrots, onions, bell peppers, and broccoli. Then he pulled out a small portable heating unit from his bag. This is the cooking part, he said. I'm going to heat up this pan with a little oil, then add the vegetables in a specific order based on how long each one takes to cook. As the pan heated, Danny added a small amount of oil. It shimmered and began to smell nutty and rich. Several students' noses twitched at the unfamiliar scent. Smell is very important to human food, Maya explained. Our sense of smell is connected to our sense of taste. Good cooking creates layers of different smells that blend together. Danny added the onions first. They sizzled as they hit the hot pan, and the smell intensified. He stirred them with a wooden spoon, keeping them moving so they cooked evenly. Why are you applying heat? Asked a student from the Finn delegation. Does this not destroy the nutrients? It changes them, Maya said. Some nutrients become easier for human bodies to absorb when cooked. The heat also kills bacteria and breaks down tough plant fibers that we couldn't digest otherwise. Remember, humans evolved eating this way. Our bodies expect cooked food. Danny added the other vegetables one by one, explaining his choices. The carrots went in next because they were hard and needed more time. Then the peppers. Finally, the broccoli, which would cook quickly. The classroom began to fill with smells none of the alien students had ever experienced before. Sweet caramelized onions, the bright scent of peppers, the earthy smell of cooking vegetables. Six's antennae quivered. It smells strange. Not bad, just very different from nutrition paste. That's the Maillard reaction, Danny said, then caught himself. Sorry, that's probably too technical. Basically, when you apply heat to food, it creates new flavors that didn't exist before. That's why cooked food tastes different from raw food. He added some simple seasonings at the end. Salt to enhance flavors, a little pepper for warmth, some garlic powder that made the whole room smell amazing. Danny turned off the heating unit and the sizzling sounds faded. The vegetables in the pan looked completely different now. The colors were brighter, more vibrant. The hard, raw vegetables had become tender and glistening with oil. "It's ready," Danny said quietly. "Would anyone like to try some?" The classroom fell silent. Students looked at each other, uncertain. The fear from earlier had faded, replaced by curiosity, but trying alien food was still a big step. Maya spoke up. "And I'll try some. I've had stir-fry before, but I'd like to taste your mom's recipe, Danny." Danny smiled gratefully and spooned some vegetables into a small bowl. He handed it to Maya along with a fork. She took a bite, chewed thoughtfully, and her face lit up with genuine pleasure. "This is really good, Danny. The vegetables are perfectly cooked, still a little crispy but not raw, and the seasoning is just right." Zix took a cautious step forward. "It will not harm us to eat this? Our biology is very different from human biology. The vegetables are from Earth, so I can't guarantee they'll agree with every species here," Maya admitted. "But they're just plants. No toxins, no allergens that we know of. Professor Venn, your species eats plants, correct?" "We do," the professor said, their fur now a curious pale green. "Though we typically consume them raw, I must admit, the smell is quite intriguing." "Would you like to try a small piece?" Danny offered, "just to see if it agrees with you?" Professor Venn hesitated, then slowly approached the desk. Danny gave them a tiny portion on a small plate. The professor picked up a piece of carrot with their delicate fingers and examined it closely. Then, with obvious nervousness, they placed it in their mouth. Everyone watched as Professor Venn chewed slowly. Their fur rippled through several colors. Purple, then gold, then a bright, cheerful yellow. "Oh my," the professor said. "Oh my, indeed. The texture is so different from raw vegetables. It's soft, but still has substance. And the flavor's enhanced somehow. Sweeter, richer. The heat brings out natural sugars in the vegetables," Maya explained. It's like concentrating all the good flavors." Krell was the next to approach. Their species was omnivorous, eating both plants and small aquatic creatures from their ocean world. They tried a piece of pepper, and their skin flashed through a rainbow of colors. "This is remarkable," Krell said. "The flavor is so complex. I taste sweetness, but also something warm and sharp. Is that the pepper seasoning?" "Yes," Danny said, his confidence growing as students responded positively. "Pepper adds a little heat, a little spice. Not too much, just enough to make it interesting." One by one, students came forward to try small portions. Some loved it immediately. Others found it strange but not unpleasant. A few discovered that Earth vegetables didn't agree with their digestive systems, but they appreciated the experience anyway. Zix took a tiny piece of onion, and their antennae went wild. "This is extraordinary. The smell made my eyes water when you cut it, but now it's sweet and mild. How is that possible?" "Chemistry," Maya said. "Heat changes the molecular structure of the onion. What was sharp and defensive becomes sweet and gentle. It's kind of beautiful when you think about it. Taking something that protects itself and transforming it into something nurturing." A student named Piro from a crystalline species spoke up. "I cannot eat this food, but I have a question. You said humans use tools like knives every day. Does every human know how to use them safely?" "We teach our children from a young age," Maya said. "First they watch adults, then they practice with supervision. By the time a human is Danny's age, what using a knife properly is as natural as walking. We have safety rules, techniques to prevent accidents, and respect for the tool's purpose." "On my world, anything that can cut is locked away," Piro said. "Only security forces can access such items. The idea that children would handle them is terrifying to me." "I understand that," Maya said gently. "Your world is different from Earth. You don't need tools like this because your environment is safe. But imagine if you lived on Earth. Imagine you had to prepare food this way to survive. Would you want your children to be afraid of the tools they needed to live? Or would you want them to learn to use those tools with confidence and respect?" Piro's crystalline body shimmered as they processed this idea. "I suppose if it was necessary for survival, fear would be more dangerous than the tool itself. Fear makes you clumsy. Confidence makes you careful." "Exactly," Maya said. "That's a very wise observation." Professor Venn moved back to the front of the class. their fur a thoughtful shade of blue-green. I believe I owe both Danny and Maya an apology. I reacted with instinct rather than understanding. I saw a blade and assumed danger without considering context. You were trying to protect the class, Danny said. I don't blame you for that. I should have realized how it would look. I should have asked permission first. We all learned something today, Professor Venn said. This is what true cultural exchange means. Not just sharing the pleasant and easy parts of our cultures, but helping each other understand the difficult parts too. The parts that seem strange or frightening at first. Maya looked around the room at the diverse group of students. Some were still eating vegetables. Others were examining the cooking tools with new understanding. The atmosphere had completely transformed from the panic of earlier. Can I share something? Maya asked. When I first arrived at this academy, I was scared. I knew I came from a death world. I knew other species would see me as dangerous. I thought about hiding everything that made me human. I thought about making myself smaller, quieter, less threatening. She paused, gathering her thoughts. But then I realized that wouldn't help anyone. If we hide who we are, we never build real understanding. Yes, humans are from a dangerous world. Yes, we are physically stronger than most species here. Yes, we use tools that look like weapons to you, but we are also creative, adaptable, and caring. We build communities. We create art. We cook meals to show love. Danny nodded in agreement with Maya's words. When I packed these cooking tools this morning, I was so excited. I wanted to share something that makes me happy. Food brings my family together. I thought maybe it could help me make friends here too. And it did, Zix said, their voice much calmer than before. I was terrified at first. I thought you were going to hurt someone, but now I understand. This knife is like my meditation crystals. The crystals could be thrown as weapons, but that is not their purpose. Their purpose is to bring peace. That is an excellent comparison, Professor Venn said. Their fur had settled into a warm golden color that indicated deep satisfaction. When I think this incident, while frightening at first, has given us all something valuable to think about. The classroom door suddenly opened. Two security officers stepped inside, both from species Maya didn't recognize. One was tall and covered in dark blue scales. The other was shorter with multiple eyes arranged in a circle around their head. We received an emergency alert from this classroom, the scaled officer said. A report of a weapon being drawn. Is everyone safe? The students all looked at each other. Then, to Maya's surprise, they all began speaking at once, trying to explain what had happened. Professor Venn raised their front two legs for silence. Officers, there was a misunderstanding, the professor said. A human student presented a cultural tool that we mistook for a weapon. The situation has been resolved peacefully, and it has turned into quite an educational experience. The officer with multiple eyes looked around the room, their gaze landing on the knife still sitting on the cutting board. That is a blade. Academy regulations clearly state that weapons are forbidden. It's not a weapon, several students said together. Even Piero, who couldn't eat the food, spoke up. It's a cooking tool. We learned about Earth culture today. Maya stepped forward. Officers, I take responsibility for how this situation unfolded. Danny should have gotten permission before bringing the knife to class, but he wasn't trying to threaten anyone. He was sharing his culture. We humans use tools like this every single day in our homes. The scaled officer looked skeptical. A blade is a blade. Intent does not change what an object is capable of doing. With respect, officer, I disagree, Maya said calmly. A blade is what we make it. In Danny's hands with the purpose of preparing food, it's a tool. In different hands with different intent, the same object could be a weapon. But we should judge people by their actions and intentions, not by what their tools could potentially do. Krell spoke up, their skin a confident blue. The human Maya is correct. Water can drown, but we do not ban water. Crystals can be thrown, but we do not ban crystals. We learn to use things properly. Today we learned how humans use cutting tools properly. The security officers looked at each other. The shorter one spoke quietly to their partner in a language Maya didn't understand. Finally, the scaled officer nodded. Very well. This time, we will record this as a cultural misunderstanding rather than a violation. However, Danny Cooper, you must register any tools like this with Academy administration before bringing them to campus again. Is that clear? Yes, sir, Danny said quickly. I'm really sorry. I didn't know. I'll follow all the proper procedures from now on. See that you do, the officer said. Then surprisingly, they added, though I must say the smell in this classroom is quite pleasant. What is that aroma? Cooked vegetables, Danny said. Would you like to try some? There's plenty left. The officers declined politely but left the classroom in much better spirits than when they arrived. As the door closed behind them, the whole class seemed to release a collective breath of relief. That was close, Danny said, sinking into a chair. I really could have been expelled. But you weren't, Maya said. Wait, because everyone here understood what really happened. They stood up for you. We learned something important today, Professor Venn said. Fear is often our first reaction to the unfamiliar. But if we pause, if we ask questions and seek to understand, we usually discover that our fear was misplaced. Over the next few days, word spread through the academy about what had happened in Classroom 7. Maya found herself stopped in hallways by curious students asking questions about Earth culture. Some wanted to know about cooking. Others asked about human tools, human history, human ways of building community. Danny received official permission to start a cooking program. Once a week, he would teach interested students about Earth food preparation. The academy even gave him a small kitchen space to work in. He properly registered and approved. Maya was surprised when the academy administration called her in for a meeting. She worried that she might be in trouble for her role in the incident. Instead, she found herself sitting across from Dean Kilrath, a wise elderly being from a species known for their diplomatic skills. Maya Torres, the dean said, their voice like rustling leaves. We have been watching you since you arrived. You have handled the challenges of being a Deathworld student with grace and wisdom. Thank you, Dean, Maya said, unsure where this was going. We would like to offer you a position, the dean continued, a liaison role between human students and the rest of the academy. You have a gift for building bridges between different cultures. We need more of that here. Maya felt her heart swell with pride and purpose. Now I would be honored, Dean, really honored. Excellent. You will work with our cultural exchange program, helping to prevent misunderstandings before they happen. You will also assist new human students as they arrive, helping them adjust to life here. As Maya left the dean's office, she found Danny waiting outside. He had a huge smile on his face. Guess what? He said excitedly. 6 students signed up for my first cooking class, and 3 of them are from species that don't even eat the way humans do. They just want to learn about our culture. Maya laughed. That's wonderful, Danny. Your mom would be proud. She is, Danny said. I called her last night and told her everything. She said that food has always brought people together on Earth. Maybe it can bring species together in the galaxy too. They walked together toward the cafeteria, where Zix and Krell were waiting for them. The 4 of them had become close friends in the days since the incident. They made an unusual group: a human girl, a human boy, an insectoid, and an amphibian. But somehow it worked. As they sat down to eat together, Maya looked around the table and smiled. A week ago, these beings had been terrified of a simple kitchen knife. Now they were sharing meals and stories, learning from each other, building something that looked a lot like family. You know what I realized, Maya said to her friends? Every species in this galaxy had to overcome something to survive. We all have our own version of Deathworld challenges. For humans, it was Earth's harsh environment. For Zix's people, it was learning to cooperate despite their solitary instincts. For Krell's species, it was adapting when their ocean planet started changing. What is your point? Zix asked, though their tone was friendly and curious. My point is that our differences aren't weaknesses, Maya said. They're evidence of how strong we all are. We survived impossible things, and now we're here, together, learning from each other. If we can turn a moment of fear into friendship, imagine what else we can do. Krell's skin glowed with warm colors. You are very wise for someone so young, Maya Torres. I'm not wise, Maya said with a laugh. I'm just a girl from a death world who got lucky enough to make some really good friends. Danny raised his glass of water in a toast. To friendship across the stars, and to cooking bringing people together. Now 1 meal at a time. They all raised their various drinking containers and touched them together. The sound rang out in the cafeteria, drawing curious looks from other students. Maya didn't mind the attention anymore. Let them look, let them be curious. Because curiosity was the first step toward understanding, and understanding was the foundation of peace. Somewhere in her pocket, Maya's communication device buzzed. It was a message from another human student who had just arrived at the academy. They were scared and alone, not sure how to fit in at a place where everyone saw them as dangerous. Maya smiled and typed a quick reply. She would meet them tomorrow and help them adjust. She would teach them what she had learned, that being from a death world didn't make you a monster. It made you a survivor, and survivors knew how to adapt, to learn to grow. The galaxy was big and full of different species with different fears and different strengths, but it was also full of possibility, full of chances to build bridges instead of walls, full of opportunities to transform fear into friendship. And it all started with one girl taking control in a moment of crisis, one boy brave enough to share his culture, and one knife that turned out to be a tool for bringing people together rather than pushing them apart.